The rubble is still piled high in the streets of Kenosha, buildings boarded and tempers flaring. President Donald Trump's arrival in this battered city pitted his hardcore supporters against the demonstrators protesting the shooting of another black man by police. He came to praise police.
We must give far greater support to our law enforcement. It's all about giving them additional support. These are great people.
He came to condemn protesters.
These are not acts of peaceful protest, but really domestic terror.
And he came to take credit.
Once they responded and once we took, control of it, things went really well.
In the 2-hour tour, the president declined to say the name of Jacob Blake, the black man now paralyzed from police bullets. The officer responsible, he said, just choked.
And you have people that choke. They're under tremendous, I said it yesterday, I said it last night, they're under tremendous pressure.
He left a city more divided than ever. His supporters on one side.
I want to show support for him arriving, as well as show support for this community that's been victimized. Burn, loot, and murder is what BLM stands for.
And the protesters of Black Lives Matter on the other.
It's a fact that we've seen a spike in racism since Donald Trump came to office. This is a fact. It's totally out of control right now. It's totally out of control. Americans are fighting Americans. Everybody's talking about civil unrest and the next war that's coming. This is our country.
There is also a third group who gathered at a spot sacred to them to reflect on what happened. One group President Trump didn't meet was the Blake family. They preferred to be here at the scene where Jacob Blake was shot among supporters. To Trump, Blake's family said simply stay away. To the demonstrators, they called for more protests and more peace.
We're not mad at you. We understand your anger and upset, and we could see why you would want to burn something down, but we're asking you not to. That fist that you put up in anger, we're asking to raise up high in unity and come on board with the Blakes. We're going to make some big changes that affect all the little Jakes around this nation.
Many in this divided city believe there is still hope of unity once again here. Just little evidence of it anytime soon. John Hendren, Al Jazeera, Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Let's discuss this with Scott Roberts. He's the Senior Director of Criminal Justice Campaigns for Color of Change. He's joining us live from Washington. Thanks for your time with us on Al Jazeera, Scott Roberts. Let's first talk about Kenosha. And what do you make of the president dodging a question while he was there on whether he believes systematic racism is a problem in the U.S. and instead he focused his message on law and order?
Yeah, I think it's really unfortunate. The president has traveled to Kenosha under the auspices of dealing with the crisis there, but he refuses to acknowledge what sparked this crisis. He would rather focus on what are really rare instances of property destruction and even rarer instances of actual person-to-person violence that's happening in partisan protests around the country, than to focus on the crisis that the vast majority of the country has recognized since the summer started, and since the death of George Floyd, that we have a real problem with policing. There's a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. that's a little bit overused right now, but it says that riots are the voice of the unheard. And I think that President Trump is a quintessential example of a leader who lacks the kind of basic human decency, one component of which is empathy, the ability to hear, understand, and relate to the plights of others. And I think that is on full display when you can go to some place like Kenosha, not meet with the family. The president said that he wouldn't meet with the family because they had requested to have a lawyer there.
Right.
Right.
Okay, you mentioned the issue of policing just a moment ago. I mean, this issue of policing, the policing system and police brutality has really been thrust into the spotlight recently. And I know this is something that you work on in your organization, Color of Change. So how do you transform that conversation? How do you keep that conversation going forward and actually transform it into real change?
Yeah, I think we are going to have systemic changes, and that's what I was going to say about the family and wanting to have that lawyer there. I think it's a clear indicator that they wanted to have a conversation about systemic change. Knowing who their attorneys are, they're represented by Benjamin Crump, who has not only represented many of these families, but has led the charge on demanding systemic changes. I think for us, a priority is reimagining what public safety looks like. The president in Kenosha today said that he was, I think he rattled off about about $45+ million in money that they're giving to prosecutors, to policing. And we really need to be, if we're making an investment in public safety, we should be reimagining what that looks like and thinking outside of the box of just policing. We have invested year after year billions of dollars in policing, in getting more police, and getting more equipment, and getting more technology. But we really need to invest in our other solutions. What are the solutions that communities want that they think would equal safety? I think if you ask communities, what they're not looking for is more policing. They're looking for ways of preventing violence. And the Wisconsin legislature had an opportunity. We called on the Wisconsin legislature, along with many partners, additional, including professional athletes, called on them to pass a $25 million investment in violence prevention and other community investments in Black communities that we think will make our community safer. So we think we have to kind of divest from this continual investment in policing and law enforcement, and frankly the prison system, and invest into the communities that have been hardest hit by both intra-community violence and state violence from police.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Scott Roberts, thank you for your time and for joining us on Al Jazeera.
Thank you.